Broadcasting live on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, in the evenings on WCPT 820 Chicago's Progressive Talk, and of course in Seattle, 1150 AM KKNW. It's the Matt McNeil Show on your Wednesday. Usually Jeff Stein would join us today. He is not available, but I've got, you might even consider it might be a little bit better. Cliff Schechter is kind enough to join us right now.
I'm better than nobody. What are you talking about?
What are you talking about, man? I mean, I got an upgrade. I'm flying first class today. The best part is Jeff is going to hear this, and I am going to get such grief from him about it.
And I don't know Jeff, and now you've just like completely disrespected him, and I want him to know that I didn't say that. I'm sure you're a wonderful man, Jeff, beloved by all. The skies open when you walk, and the sun shines brightly upon you.
Go pump the brakes there a little bit.
I'm having fun. I'm being a goofball. All right. It's all good.
You, of course, there's a lot of places that, Cliff is out there. He is, Substack. You basically, they just call it Cliff Stack now. I mean, you've been dominating over there, correct?
We've been doing well, ever since I decided to risk bodily injury by holding in what I had to hold in for 12 hours to do a 12-hour live stream. The crazy PR side of me said, this will get people's attention. And we luckily got some great guests, including you. And we did, and we got a lot of subscribers, and we have, nearly 600,000, which is sort of insane. And it's growing. And tomorrow kicks off my first, because we did so well, they gave me a show. So my first Substack live show that they're promoting and called Amped Up with Cliff Schechter, which will be every Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern on Substack. You have to subscribe to be able to see it. But there's, it's a big audience at this point. Like, your governor there joined, for example, and people like that. And tomorrow I've got Joe Walsh coming on as my first guest, and David Schuster is going to join me to co-host. And people may remember David as an Emmy award-winning anchor at MSNBC and CNN. So it should be fun.
Well, it's of course, you got to go to Substack and subscribe. There's a button there for you to do that on your page, correct?
Yes, I can even, I don't know, you've got a little chat thing here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I put it in there. It's just blueamp.co. Very easy. Blueamp. So blueamp.co. And you can, that's one of the ways. There's a few ways you can get there, but that's the easiest one to remember. Go subscribe, join hundreds of thousands of your fellow citizens who hopefully want to fight back. And, we do what you would expect. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are not high on our list. Elon Musk is high, but not high on our list. We take them apart as one would, we take them apart as Donald Trump has done to the stock market. I'll just find metaphors everywhere here. And go after MAGA, go after the right wing, and point out how they are un-American, how they are cruel and evil and harming all of us. And no, this doesn't mean every single Republican out there, but beyond the stuff that makes all of the headlines. And now I'm forgetting his name, and it's making me angry. But I think it's Kimar Hidalgo, or the gentleman who is innocent, who is taken to El Salvador. Like any American who doesn't stop themselves when they hear that an innocent human being was taken and thrown into a prison in a foreign country with terrorists and gang members, and that we know he's innocent, that the Trump administration admitted he's innocent, and they're trying to use every legal means to not bring him back. What kind of, and I can't say the words on here that I would say on my thing, what kind of an evil, I'm just going to say this and hopefully on son of a bitch do you have to be? What kind of an evil, awful, these people that claim to have read the New Testament, yes, just as Jesus would have done. You are such excrement as a human being if you are okay with an innocent father being grabbed off the street, sent there, and just sort of saying, all right, we made a mistake. Now he's theirs. Like, don't ever walk up to me and say that to my face, that it's okay, he's there, because I'll have trouble controlling myself.
There's two parts of this. One is there's no way all these rulings that are coming down from the Supreme Court would ever go any other president's way like this. They'd all be 9-0 for any other president, including W. just
Remember,
would not
just
happen.
think of them as what I always say. I'll just say in 2 seconds: Republicans in robes. That's what they are.
Well, they clearly are. And anyone that thinks Roberts is a moderate, he's the one that's basically keeping this innocent man in this gulag in El Salvador. But you had said something when I talked to you earlier today. You had said something which is something we need to start talking about, because this kind of seems like where this whole thing is going. The fact that he's going after the lawyers now, and he's going after people, and he was telling people to, that they should be restrained and should be stopped, and they can't be talking and stuff like this. I've got concerns about you, about me, Jeff, our friends, that people out there that, Trump this is how much can they get away with? And when you ship Garcia, I believe it is the guy out of Maryland, you ship him down to El Salvador, and he's clearly innocent, and no one in the government is even trying to get him back at this point. The question then becomes,
no one in Trump's government. There's people in the government, Democrats, who are, and frankly, there may even be a couple of Republicans, but nobody of the MAGA variety they don't care about human beings.
Well, and the question is this okay, what are they going to allow us to get away with? And if all of a sudden one day they feel as if it suits a purpose for them to get Cliff Schechter and grab him off the streets of Cincinnati and throw him into an El Salvadorian gulag and go, oopsie, and John Roberts is saying, well, you don't have to get him back so quickly now. I mean, that's the question we have to ask ourselves, is where is this going? Because it sure seems we are on the front end of Stalin and his gulags, with Trump, as he himself keeps saying, there are American citizens I want to send down there. And
right. He said that, and he's actually trying. There was an article today in HuffPost trying to find legal justification means for deporting U.S. citizens, which there are none, and he will never find any. That doesn't mean he won't do it, though. And so, yeah, I mean, look, I'm worried. How can you not be? I don't sit around worrying about it every day or thinking about it all the time. But when I do think about it, I also think about the fact that, what country do I want my kids to grow up in? And what country do we all want to have? And if people who have voices that maybe even have a modicum of influence, I'm not claiming to have the influence of members of Congress or, whatever it might be. But if we give in, as they say, if we stop doing that, that's when it's a done deal. Then you might as well just say because then if there's no resistance to this, then we become that. And so, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's not something that it's not a pleasant thought. It's not and it's the bigger reason why 2%, apparently. You guys are amazing, by the way. I heard 80,000 people were out there in Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is incredible. That was the most incredible number I heard outside of Boston, having like 100,000.
How about that New York crowd where they panned down the street and it looked like the astronauts had just come back. I couldn't believe how many people were in New York.
No, and my original hometown, I'll give them a ton of credit. Obviously, also a very, very big population there too. I mean, I don't know what it is per capita, 80,000. I don't know the size of Minneapolis, St. Paul. I bet you do, but that's and the 2% of the population. Well, remember when that march against Vucic, or however you pronounce his fascist name, in Serbia, in Belgrade, they got something like 14 or 15% of the population out there. So we got 2%. Let's build on that. There's another one coming on April 19th, because again, we need to stop it now. If we don't stop it now, it will get to us, Matt, and a lot of other people. It will get to professors at universities. It will get to corporate types who they think are doing DEI. I put that in quotes for anybody not watching, just listening. All that kind of stuff. Like, they will get to everybody who doesn't just march to attention when they say you should do something. And so, like, the time to stop all of this, to prevent all this, just like electing that judge in Wisconsin and showing in Florida, we could way overperform. We have 3 major U.S. Senate races coming up at the end of this year, and one of them's from an incumbent, Ossoff. 2 of them are not. And, when it comes to both Ohio and Florida, I'm not going to say either of those are the kind of lifts they were 15 years ago, but when there are no real incumbents, like they're all point people, but they're not really incumbents, and Trump is not on the ballot, and Trump right now is such a drag that we had an 11-point turnaround in Wisconsin from a 1-point Trump win to a 10-point Trump loss, maybe even a little bit bigger than that. That should tell you, again, the direction we're headed in.
Florida, 17.5 in one race, 19 in the other race. And those are huge overturns. And of course, they're still a Republican. But I mean, what you basically have said is there's any race that's within 15 to 17 points where the Republicans won this last election, those are technically toss-ups now. And
right. Well, Elise Stefanik's seat is a plus 10 seat, and they pulled her out of the UN nomination to run for it again because I'm sure they're looking at their numbers and they were showing them they were going to lose. So that should tell you, if you can perform at a plus 12, 14 kind of level, Kamala Harris lost to Trump, who overperforms here, sadly, by 11 points. We absolutely can win Ohio. Oh, yeah. In the midterm. We probably can win Florida. It wasn't much worse there. It was about 13 points, I think, and we hold on to Georgia, especially if they do what they say they're going to do. And there's talk of nominating Marjorie Taylor Greene. Please do that. Please do that.
Well, and I think that, they might end up doing it because no one else wants to, because everyone else looks at this and says, I can see the writing on this wall, and that idiot doesn't see that. One thing, when you go back to really quick, we got about a minute on this one, the vision of masked armed men grabbing people off the streets.
That one in Massachusetts is horrific.
What in the, this is some, I have my friends in Europe are calling us like, is everyone okay? What is going on? I mean, this is some real dictator 101 stuff.
Well, I watched that and my immediate reaction was, I think I put something out there. I don't remember what, where Substack or YouTube. And I was like, this isn't America. Like, this is not, and she may have even, I know I saw what she wrote. She wrote some things I don't agree with. And we have some disagreements on Israel-Palestine stuff. I'm more moderate on it, but I don't want to get into all of it. Point being, that doesn't matter if I disagree with her. She's allowed to say what she wants. She's in America, or she should, or what we once called America. To grab her off the streets and see that image of her screaming in fear as masked men grabbed her. I mean, my God, is this what we want? Is the country we want?
Yeah, it's just terrifying to see this, and it's a march towards totalitarianism. And once again, the Supreme Court seems to be signing off on it. We're going to take a break. When I do come on back, I want to talk a little bit about Barrett, because I think the reason why Roberts is shifting his points of view is all of a sudden Barrett has not become the dependable vote on the court they thought she was going to be. We'll talk.
He's secretly a communist. Okay.
Well, that's what they're saying now.
I know. That's why I have fun with that stuff, because they freak out. So
Cliff Schechter is kind enough to join us today. 952-946-6205 is the phone number. We'll take a break. Come back. The Matt McNeil Show. It is the Matt McNeil Show. Cliff Schechter, kind enough to join us here to begin off the show today. Cliff, we'll talk about the markets, because one of the things that a lot of people are not discussing about what happened today with Trump rescinding the tariffs and the markets jumping up, they had to, because if you looked at the bond market this morning, the bond market was collapsing. And that's not a recession. That's a depression. And so we'll talk about that a little bit later on here.
But it still doesn't change the fact that, the way he leads, which is whimsical, which is, fly by the seat of his pants, whatever he's aggrieved at. He has like a whole grievance gland, I believe, that exists in his body. Just all of that leads. I mean, this is when I hear these little, what can I call him that won't get me banned from your station? Jerks,
orange
like
idiot.
Bill,
orange idiots.
That works. Like Bill Ackman, who's like, it's destroying things now, and he's whining and crying and talking about nuclear winter. And it's like, listen, you jackarse, how is it that you did not know that you Mr. Big Shot? I'm not Mr. Big Shot on Wall Street. I understand that stability, predictability, those kinds of things actually matter when it comes to markets and foreign policy. They're the most important thing. Mm-hmm. All right. Because if people lose confidence, they freak out and it becomes a mob mentality. And you see people sell and all of that. You looked at this man, his behavior his whole life, his behavior, the first term, his behavior, lying about the election and during the interim and thought, that's going to bring stability. It's these business types that voted for him that are now whining that honestly, I just want to be like, will you just shut up? Honestly, you did this. You brought this. You voted for this. He's like, I didn't vote for this. Yeah, you did.
You bankrolled it. He said he was going to do this. And the fact that, and by the way, speaking of a bunch of idiots, how about the fact that Trump seems to have been sided with Elon over Navarro at the point? Because you remember, Elon was really kind of go after Navarro all of a sudden.
Right.
And so the fact that all of them, including Navarro, saying, this is exactly what we wanted to do. No, you didn't want to do this. It takes a little bit more to break down. I'll do it in the second half of this hour, but I'll talk about the fact that we're clearly not out of this. But Trump, what is with? Is it just all this blind allegiance because he bought Twitter and killed it for Trump? I don't know, but
and funded. He just put $25 million. Thankfully, he burned all of it into a Wisconsin election. He's threatened to go after anybody that challenges. Who stands up to Trump on anything. A classic example right now is one of the few people as scummy, as disgusting, as rapey, as with his many convictions as Donald Trump is Ken Paxton, who just jumped in a race and was almost impeached by Republicans and just jumped into a race versus John Cornyn, because Cornyn is more of the business Republican establishment that still own all of this because they closed their eyes and let Trump do what he was going to do and get away with all of this, all the things that he's done. And, and so I think that's the kind of guy that Elon Musk will bankroll. And he wouldn't have gotten in the race. Trust me, if Paxton went to Trump and said, should I get in the race? And Trump said, I will come out against you. He would not have gotten in that race. He got in with their explicit support because Cornyn speaks out in certain things like tariffs against Trump. So that's what that's what Musk is there for. He's a little plaything with money. And therefore, Navarro is the one defending Trump's policy. Musk is attacking Trump's policy, but Trump defends defends Musk. If you ever want to get where loyalty is in that, what to Donald Trump is, can you give him money? Can you find him somebody at the Moscow Hilton to do stuff I can't say?
So I want to give you an interesting thing about Musk. So my youngest daughter was on spring break last week. She went down to Cocoa Beach, which is just south of Cape Canaveral. She's there, and she said, "Oh, all over the place there was all these construction projects that were going on, and they are all federal government projects, and they all had SpaceX on it." And I don't think we're starting to understand how much government contracts Elon Musk has gotten very quickly signed by Trump. And the fact that they're already out there digging up beach, they were digging up the sand of Cocoa Beach for something that he was going to use on one of his launch sites. And I'm like, this is great. The fact that it's so prevalent and prominent down there, it is kind of, they're two little bed bugs, aren't they, snuggling in together?
Yeah. Well, they are. And that's the thing is at this point, Elon needs him to a certain degree too.
Oh yeah.
Because they're, again, bringing the market back today, I guess, because of their tariffs, stuff and whatever. Look, there's a margin call up between 120 and 140 for Tesla. It's fallen as low as 220. It's still, you're going to have people, their sales are going to keep crashing. At this point, the most recent figure this year has it down 73% in Germany, which is the largest car market in Europe. It's way down. People, it is a scarlet letter now. It's like what happened. Name a company, Enron, Lehman Brothers. It can't come back with that. They need to dump their CEO and they need to change their name. And that's really the only chance they have because it is so negatively associated. So he's losing money. He needs those contracts.
Well, and Tesla today announced they're not taking any more trade-ins because they're not selling any new cars, and they've already got their lots are full of old Teslas people have given back because they don't want them anymore.
Right. And now quickly, I'll say people are starting to cancel Starlink. Italy just canceled their Starlink contract. You're going to start seeing that with European countries and other places too. So it's not just Tesla where he's going to suffer. So he needs these no bid contracts.
Well, just once again, as I mentioned earlier, Amy Coney Barrett, the Supreme Court Justice, once again, I honestly think the reason why Roberts is starting to jump back more on the Trump side of things and, this king idea as president is because Barrett was supposed to be this guaranteed vote for him. And she's starting to turn, she's becoming very Sandra Day O'Connor, and she's becoming much more of a less and less reliable far right vote.
Well, that's the thing. And he I think public pressure actually really does get to Roberts. I think he's, I think he's exactly what he looks like, a little preppy boy wimp, who's scared of. So when he starts hearing the right wing, clamoring and attacking him, I think it works the way it works on certain media figures. And he ends up voting on, going with the people. Remember, he didn't originally want to sign that Alito decision overturning Roe. He was trying to get them together to find a compromise where they would allow abortion in the first 3 months or 2 months, whatever it was. It wouldn't have been good enough, trust me, but something where it wasn't a full, and he couldn't get him to do it. And in the end, the right was screaming and yelling, and he ended up joining and doing it, even though he apparently didn't want to. He's a coward, just like so many of these Republicans. That's all he is. So he's scared of Trump, and he's scared of the MAGA people. And you're right. Barrett, at least before she kept voting for stuff and it kept passing, he could kind of maybe vote against some of it. But without her there, they need his vote.
Yep. I agree wholeheartedly with that.
And then the pitchforks come for him if those cases lose.
Well, this court's legacy is sealed. All right. So Blue Amp on Substack. You've got Cliff's Edge over on YouTube because you were just there today. And of course, people support him, for goodness sakes. It is great quality content you are just not going to find anywhere else. Cliff Schechter, once again, it's blueamp.co. Blueamp.co is where you can find how you can support him. And, my show is better when he is on it. It is Cliff Schechter.
Thank you.
Cliff, outstanding as always. Once again, when's your live feed tomorrow?
2 p.m. Eastern. I will be on live with David Schuster, and our guest is Joe Walsh, former Republican congressman who turned against Trump and the Republican Party. Should be fun.
2 p.m., 1 p.m. Central. Thanks, Cliff. We'll take a break, come back. Matt McNeil Show.
Thank you.
Come on, it's